A few weeks ago, I watched a video by Critical, of all people, where he discussed his complaints with how ranking systems by different review sites work. And you know what? It made an awful lot of sense to me. His argumentation was that most things fall upon generally a normal distribution. So like, where most things will be around halfway, and then like the really good things are few and far between, and then the really bad things are also few and far between. This is a stencil I did back when I was in secondary school doing basic stats. So this sort of stuff. So most things will be about a 5 out of 10, but most review sites tend to skew to the high end. If you look at Amazon, yeah, sure, it's the same, but those are people who don't really have a wide frame of reference. I took this upon myself to make a better ranking system because I kind of have an obsession with ranking things. Hold on, this will become relevant later. I'm not saying this just for the thing. I swear, I'm working on a big project, but you gotta give me time. It's big. I'm very ambitious. Just bear with me for this. This was like a 24-hour turnaround, so fucking shut up. Let me get back to this. What I did is I've created this new ranking system where basically you do a comparative thing. You basically rank everything from best to worst, and it's simple as that. You don't assign any values to anything to begin with. You just go, okay, is this item better than this item? And then you keep going until you find where it lands in the current ranking. And then when you want to add something else, you just go through the ranking and go, okay, is this better than this? And keep working its way up. It's pretty self-explanatory. I'm just complicating it with my words, but you should probably understand it from just that. And then what I've done is I've made this little spreadsheet behind me where you input the number of things that you have, and then it divides them into different tiers, so S tier, A tier, B tiers, so on. And it divides it up based on how many different things should be in each tier based on a normal distribution. And then what you can do is you can do the top number of things go into a certain category, and so on and so forth. An unrelated thing is that a few months ago I got really into Chi-Fi, which is Chinese hi-fi. It's a portmanteau. It's kind of funny. And I ended up spending too much money for one person to spend on shitty earphones. But that means that I have 11 pairs of earphones, specifically in-ears, that I have not really compared. So I thought, what better way of taking Critical's advice on ranking things by ranking my collection of earphones. And so I put the number of earphones that I had into my spreadsheet, which is 11, and it tells me that I need one A tier. It doesn't matter, you'll get to the point. So I'm going to guide you through the results of this tier list. For clarification, the way I tested these is I played through a whole bunch of different music out of my computer, and my computer was outputting to my DAC, which is the FIO K5 Pro, so like it's a good high-end amp DAC combo unit. Really, we were just testing the earphones. Like, it's not top of the line, but having a Cambridge audio output thing that cost me €3,000 was not going to improve the output that much. Anyway, starting from the very top with an unsurprising victor, my most expensive pair of in-ears, which is the Tin Hi-Fi T3s. These are like €60, 58 euro. These are €58.25 according to my purchase history, and these are, you know, pretty good earphones. I ended up really liking these because they were the most balanced and neutral. Like, my favorite headphones are the HD 6XXs, which you may have seen me unbox earlier this year, but these are my favorite in-ears. They're super comfortable. They've got foam tips. They're good. They're nice and balanced. These are very good. I enjoy them. They're the most enjoyable. They feel so premium, like they've got the best cable. They're all just high quality, and they feel like they're worth the value. But then below that, in B tier, comes 3 more headphones. Starting off, first of all, with the KZ ZSN Pros. And these are actually also really comfortable. Like, the build quality isn't as good as the Tin Hi-Fi T3s. Like, the cable is kind of shit in comparison to the ultra premium feeling cable that came on the T3s. But these are nice. These have kind of a cool thing, and I actually really enjoy the shape of the KZ design, because they fit really well despite how large they are. And these kind of had a more fun sound profile. These were, like, I don't really know how to put it. Like, the bass was it was more emphasized. The bass was definitely more emphasized, but it wasn't like overwhelming. We'll get to that as we go down the tier. They were just kind of fun. I ended up not putting them above the T3s because like they weren't as neutral, and I really value neutral sound profiles, but they kind of had an element of whimsy to them. These were, pretty good considering that they were €11 compared to the T3s, which were 60. Taking a step down from there, we have another KZ. These are the KZ EDX Pros. Maybe. I don't know. These were almost indistinguishable from the ZSN Pros. They were slightly different in how they sounded. I actually really like the see-through plastic on them. I just think like seeing the internal electronics is really cute. Again, they don't feel as premium. I thought the sound profile was almost indistinguishable from the ZSN Pros, but again, I am no expert on audio, but these were really nice. The fact that these were less than €7, these are pretty good value for money already. Dropping just below them in B tier are the Panasonic Ergo Fit. Now these were a surprising thing. Like, these win the award for most comfortable because they are just unrivaled in how small and how light they are, and they're a weird shape, but they just fit in my ears so well. Like, I could wear these for hours and hours and not get tired. These win in that regard. The sound profile is not as good as some other IEMs that I have, like obviously the KZ EDX and the Tin Hi-Fi T3s and so on, but these were still really good. Now these were a little bit more expensive at like €8.50, but that's because these didn't come from China. These shipped from Europe, so the shipping fees, I guess. But these were pretty good. This brings us down to C tier, and at top of C tier was a surprise out of nowhere. This was like a no-name brand thing that I found on AliExpress that was it was advertised as drop shipping, and there was nothing. After digging a bit more, I found that they were called the Scatoli X2, but like there's no brand name on them at all. It literally just says X and then dynamic acoustic in-ear. There's nothing written on them, but these shocked me. They had a very, very similar shape to the KZs, but they're not KZs. They're a different brand entirely, and they don't have a removable cable, so that's a little bit of a letdown. But like the sound was almost indistinguishable from the Panasonic. The only reason that I ranked that Panasonic above these was because they were slightly more premium, and they felt better, and the cable on these is garbage. This is trash. It's so springy and stiff, and I hate it. But these were €3.50. This was an underrated champion. These are the value for money champs out there. These are incredible for how much they cost. Continuing down in C tier, we're greeted by another KZ, and these were quite disappointing to me. These are the KZ ES4s, and these were actually the first pair of KZs I ever bought. But going through the rankings here and comparing them to everything else, they're kind of disappointing. Like, the bass was a little bit overwhelming, and I just didn't really enjoy listening to music with them. I don't really know why, but it's weird because these were also the most expensive ones that I bought, despite the fact that, like, clearly the Pros should be more expensive. But these ones have a microphone, so I guess that was the selling point. I guess you pay more for the microphone, but these were €14, whereas the EDX were 7 and the Pros were 11. So yeah, go with those. They're better. They're A tier. This is C tier. Dropping down below them, we get the origin of Tin Hi-Fi with the Tin Hi-Fi T1s. Now these were at least €8, so they were significantly cheaper than the T3s, but I kind of bought these after I bought the T3s because these were kind of the legacy, but these aren't good. These are, not only are these like kind of disappointing and meh to listen to, like the bass is kind of pancakey. Like, they've got a flat-ish profile, Like, they don't overemphasize bass or anything, but they're just kind of, you know? But these are also the least comfortable earphones to wear. Like, these giant metal discs, they hurt. Like, I couldn't wear these for more than half an hour without, like, seriously hurting my ears. It's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, no, these are €8, but that's spent on having an aluminium case that makes these a bad experience. This is the point where things go a little bit worse, where we drop down into D tier. This is where things get bad. At the top of D tier, the AKG buds that are in every fucking Samsung phone packaging thing ever. Critical says that these are like good enough. These are trash. These are garbage. These are bad. These are not worth your money at all. Like, I guess the build quality's okay, and the sound quality is just bad. These, they're not fun to listen to. They're braided. They've got cool fibers on the outside, but you should not buy your earphones because they are comparable to shoelaces. These are like, look at how rigid that cable is. It's not good. It has a microphone on it, which is cool, I guess, but I don't care. They're not fun. They're a bad listening experience, and if you're using these, immediately upgrade to anything else on this list. Anything that I've already mentioned. But they're just bad, but not as bad as next up on this list. These are just called hi-fi, and I assure you they are not. They've got this weird shape to them. I don't know how to describe it, but like, and they've got a squeaky cable on them. What the fuck is that? These manage to have worse sound quality than the AKGs, which, I mean, makes sense because they are cheaper than the AKGs. I take it back, these are more expensive than the AKGs. I don't know how they managed that then. These are not worth purchasing. These are, if you really like the color red, sure, buy them, but they're bad. Then this brings us to the worst of D tier, and I have no idea what the brand name is for these. I just call them the pink sparkly, but like, they literally feel like they're made of like dental floss or something. But yeah, I call them the pink sparkly because they're just a pink plastic with fucking glitter in them. These have just overwhelming bass. They're just boom, boom, boom. It sounds like I'm listening to music that my upstairs neighbors are playing. They're just bad. They're also quite uncomfortable, and they're just not good. They're worse than the original Apple earphones, you know, the ones from like 2001, those pieces of shit. These are just garbage. I mean, at this point, I don't really know how to describe things other than garbage. They have dynamic drivers. You can clearly see that if you look through the plastic inside, that they do have 2 drivers, but that doesn't mean they're good drivers. I mean, they're amusing, they're purple, they're bad. This now brings us to the worst of today. These are the only earphones in E tier, and these are, I don't know, but they're called the Huadele. I don't know, it's just the writing on the sides of them, and these are easily the worst earphones of today. They have the worst mids. They have no high end. They're all bass. You don't get any detail out of them, and the sub bass doesn't even exist. Like, how do they do that? There's just, so like, you only get the mid bass. You don't get the mids. You don't get the sub bass. You just get like a little hump in the bass. So like, there's no extension to them. There's no detail to your music. It just sounds sad, and I hate them. So yeah, I don't know why I spent money on them. In fairness to them, they do have a better cable than the pink sparklies, so there is that. So that's my collection of earphones. I don't know why I bought them all, but now you have a ranking, I guess. Yeah, that's, I don't know why I made this video, but enjoy. Goodbye.